Hi, Kalyani. Thank you for joining this call. It means a lot. We would really get insights from you and experience. So, Kalyani, if you can explain yourself in 1 minute.
That is very difficult to do because being from a creative industry, I think you can never really define yourself because you're doing so many things and nothing is a side quest. Like everything you are doing is mainstream for you. So, creative people will understand this. Have been a freelancer for quite some time, and I've been freelancing in social media, working with brands and personal brands on their organic social media growth. And besides that, I'm building my own brand. I've been building it since I was in college. And yeah, that is like something that built me as a person and professionally, and gave me so much experience that you can never really get in a job. So when you're building something, only then you get those kind of creative plus problem solving kind of skills. Started content creation a year ago, and it's been going good. Right now at 13K followers, and yeah, so that's basically all about me. And
You're having multiple hats like content strategist, creative strategist, copywriting. So, I mean, can you differentiate among all these three, or maybe?
Okay, content strategy and copywriting are very different. We start with content strategy. Content strategy is basically putting together research, observation, competitor analysis, and then coming up with contents, concepts, and ideas of what a particular brand should be doing in terms of content, just content. That could be content for anything, and or for their founder on their LinkedIn or on their personal brand. Copywriting is putting everything into words, like writing the scripts, writing captions, writing the copies for website. Basically, anywhere we need words, we need a copywriter to write those words. So content strategy comes first, and then copywriting comes after that. Combining those two is what I usually do for brands.
Okay. How did this journey actually begin for you?
If you're talking about content and copywriting, it began long before I even knew that these were the terms given to them. I have been building my own brand since I was in college. So when I started building it, of course, the first social media platform that I went for was Instagram. So I used to write copies for my own brand for its website. I used to design the website. I made my own website on Shopify, and then I used to shoot content for my products. Sometimes I would be on the camera myself with my face, and I used to collect ideas, content ideas. I used to write my own scripts, what I'm going to write in the carousels or stories, and it got hit. Like, it used to be liked a lot because I used to get a lot of feedback from people, because a lot of people were following my brand not just for the products, but they actually enjoyed watching the content. They loved interacting with the stories I used to put on Instagram stories. So those kind of feedback I started getting. So when I started my internship, I think back in 2018 or something, and I then started with social media itself. Although I have worked in multiple other roles as well, admin, operational, managers, a lot of other roles. However, this was always something that I brought to the table, even in those roles, because I kind of knew that I was good at it. Given the feedback I was getting and the organic reach my brand was getting through the content that we were posting. So that's where it started. And about a year and a half ago, I completely switched to organic social media marketing and started freelancing. So that's the whole journey from then to now.
Did you have any mentor or any such like resources you started with, or going through some kind of habits or hobbies? is what you discovered this?
No, I did not have any mentor or anything. Everything is self-learned, of course, because this is social media, this is internet, so you have to keep yourself up with the trends and um, evolve basically. Um, but even for that, I did not believe taking up any courses or anything, because courses I usually feel that they are a bit outdated.
Okay.
They teach everybody the same thing. Uh, Although I do have certifications from Google, but it was just so I can have it on my resume, because resumes, they love certifications and keywords. Just for that, I took the certification as well. However, the learning came from practical doing of things. Like, even now, I tell people that if you want to start your career in social media, maybe start a page. Maybe start a page, even if it's going to be a faceless page. You don't even have to use Instagram. You can try any other social media platform as well, where you don't necessarily need pictures or videos. You can go to those platforms and start, but you need to do it yourself to be able to understand, and to be able to put things in numbers. Like, um, a lot of copies I myself write, that I feel like, oh, this is great. But only when I publish that copy and I get the audience reaction, only then I'm able to understand if it's actually good or not. So uh, a lot of the learning has happened only when I did things myself. So yeah, that's.
If someone wants to build a career like yours from scratch, like they don't know anything about it, it's like, say if you want to teach me itself, like if I have to build a career in this, then what
Mhm.
would be those few starting steps which would help me or guide me in a better direction to have a career like this?
Like, I start giving them little things from that project. Like, let's say there's a post that has to go. It has to be a video. So I usually provide everybody with links, or pages or creators, where I want people to start is first making observations. That is like the very basic thing that you have to do. So just go through the creators page or the brands page, or whatever type of content I've provided. Just go through that and give your own honest observation about it. Like, what do you think? What's working? Why it's working? What did you like? What did you not like? As an audience, just try to judge like an audience first, and then try to break that down into what could be the strategy. Elicit out any kind of strategy that you see in this particular page or this creator's content. That builds, how you take strategic decisions. So that comes from first making observations as an audience or as a user, and then trying to understand it from a copywriter or a social media manager's point of view. So after they have given me the breakdown of things, then we go ahead and whatever brand we have to create the strategy for, we draft the strategy, and then we go for copywriting. So that is where basically you have to start. You have to do a lot of research and a lot of studying. Why, if something went viral, why it went viral first, look at it from an audience point of view, and then uh, decide yourself, what do you like about it, what do you dislike about it. Whatever you dislike, what will you replace in that, how will you improve that. So that kind of starts building your strategy skills on content. I had to ask someone to start. That is where they should start.
Can we have a practical example, if I mean, about this? I think that would give a really good insight in that perspective.
We have worked with plenty of apps. I mean, when I say we, I also say include all the others who work along with me as a team. So there is an app I was working with. I am not going to name the app, but it was a language learning app, and we recently were working on this app, and the videos were doing very dull. Like what we were doing in the first 30 days, we usually test all kinds of concepts and all kinds of hooks. But whatever we were doing, they were not doing so well. And this was Instagram. And then what we did was we tried to change the strategy by first looking at all the other language apps that were actually going viral. Uh, a lot of videos, a lot of content out there is good, but they never go viral or they don't convert into downloads for an app. So we came across this app called Parrot, and they were actually doing good. Parrot is also a language learning app. And I had heard their name in one of the newsletters. I follow this particular newsletter, Social Growth Engineers. What they do is every week they send whatever's trending, but they usually send details from TikTok, not Instagram. But it's still pretty useful, so I would definitely recommend that. Whoever I work with, I usually recommend them to subscribe to their newsletters because they are so great. So every week they send out these viral hooks or what's trending right now. And I had seen Parrot gaining a few million views from one of their hooks. And these were creators that I think came up with those hooks. So we also tried something similar. We did not copy them, but we tried something similar because if you are going to copy somebody, people are going to know. So we tried one of their hooks and it hit. We got about 46K views. And then what we did was we kept repeating the same hook in different ways on the same profile, on the same creator's profile. And every time it would get 8K views, 10K views. So views started increasing, followers started increasing. So I think that was the very recent strategy that we worked on. So, I mean, just concluding here, sometimes what you have to do is the most educational kind of content may not work. It may not get you viral. Try to do weird things because Parrot app was doing very weird kind of videos, weird kind of hooks, and they were getting hit. So we also tried to replicate this concept, and we also tried some stupid lines, weird lines, and we got hit too. So yeah, that was the conclusion of what we learned from this coming up with this strategy for the app.
Okay. So, in short, it's like first we have to have a good observation, subscribing to the resources, as you mentioned, the newsletters to start with, and then keep on practicing or maybe trying out posts and then getting feedbacks from the people who are already existing in this domain, right?
Yeah, yeah. Keeping a very close eye on what competitors are doing. Whatever they are doing, don't try to copy them, but just see what is why their posts are getting more hit than ours, and maybe try to replicate just the concept. It doesn't work every time. Okay, that's why I said make observations and come up with your own strategy. Don't rely on one formula because there is no formula on social media. Something could work for somebody, it may not work for you. So just observation and breaking down of what worked, why it didn't work is very, very, very important. And every day that is what we like wake up and that is what we do. Make observations, just study, study, study every day.
Right. Can you walk us through any of your client projects, like from the start till the delivery, with certain confidentiality? If that would give anyone a quick idea of how was the project before and how the magic happened after it.
I worked with a lot of brands from zero, like having no presence at all on social media. I think one of my clients that I worked with, she's not a client anymore. She's a friend now, and I started working with her as an intern. Although I was looking for a freelancing project, but I came across her project and it was an internship. So and they were just launching they are a consultancy. They were just launching. They had no presence at all. So me along with her and along with of course a few more team members, we worked on it from zero. We gained a few million views as well on a lot of our posts. We have million views, and we got leads as well. So very recently one of our other videos went viral, and today this morning itself we had a meeting where she was complaining like it was good, it's a good problem to have. So many calls and so many DMs, and we were just planning now, how do we handle so many leads, how do we redirect them so we are able to convert them, and how such a small team is going to handle so many leads. So yeah, that's one of the projects I took over last year, and it's been almost a year working with them, and it's just growing like, and it's a very proud project because you start working on it right when they were launching, and now it's growing into something so big that we have this problem that we are too small team to handle so many leads and so many DMs and calls. So yeah, that's one of the projects I worked on. So I actually have posted a video, and along with that, I have also written a blog about it. So if somebody is able to replicate the same steps, they'll be able to do it themselves. So
Yeah.
what we did, where we actually started was, initially there was no face on the page,
Okay.
and people connect with people. If like I am taking their example, they are a consultancy. So you trust a consultancy because you know who you are going to talk to. If you're going to consult with somebody, you should be able to know their name, their face, and you should be able to trust them. Otherwise, you won't pay them. You'll back off. So I suggested that instead of putting out graphics, let's put out your face. Let's put out your who you are. Let's show that to people. So we decided a few content pillars. So the content pillars were, first, we'll provide value to people. We whatever new updates are going to be coming in the industry, we are going to tell them about that. Second, we are going to show your journey as well. How you started, why you started, how many people have you helped, and what is your process of helping people? How do you consult with them? Third, we are going to show testimonials from people who are actually getting help. So this is not like a screenshot of somebody's review posted on Instagram. We don't do it like that. We actually tell the whole story behind it. So we put together an entire script where the founder, she sits down and she delivers the script on camera, where she talks about how she met this, like how did this client come to her, what were their requirements, how she helped, and now what is the result. So this is how we put together the testimonials. So for the testimonials also, when people give us pictures or clips, we just combine all of it and we show it in a storytelling format, so that people know if somebody could connect with that. So if somebody out there also has similar requirements or similar problems, they would know that this is how I'll also be treated and this kind of result I can expect. So that was one of the content pillars, and it worked. And besides that, we tried a lot of other things, like we tried entertaining content, um, we tried short videos, like very short videos. But our main objective always was, first give value to people, then show reviews from others who are getting help, then third, then try to invite people, like then give the CTA, try to convert them into warm leads, and then have the call next. So that was the whole content pillar we had, and it worked. And that's great. I mean, because the page is growing, and it's not just about the views. Sometimes I also tell this to a lot of clients who are always worried about, I'm not getting views. A lot of my videos also don't perform. They don't get views as much as I expect. As like I would spend an entire day shooting a video and then editing it, but it won't get the required views. But it reaches the right people. That's most important. What's more important than getting a client or a lead or any kind of monetary benefit from your content? Views का आप क्या ही करोगे? So I always tell people, just focus on, will my content reach the right kind of audience, and will that audience trust this content, that convert into something. So just focus on that. Don't focus too much on views or anything else.
Everyone runs for views, and that's how it is right now. Because
Yeah.
I believe everyone validates themselves and their skills just based on views, and that's how people get
Yeah.
motivated or demotivated at the same time. What's the best part of your career and the hardest part? Which
See, the best part, of course, is when we start getting results. When we start seeing results, that is the best part. Sometimes you don't even put so much efforts and but still the results start showing. And other times you do everything and still something doesn't work. So of course the best part is the result, the numbers. The best part also, I would say, is the fact that I love working in this field. This is something that is not only, this is not only something that I'm good at, but it's actually something that I love. So I, like, weekdays and weekends are same for me. Sometimes I'm working on weekends also, and it doesn't feel like work. It feels great. So that is the best part of this. And the worst part, I would say, is when we have non-creative people interfering too much, because they saw something on the internet and they want it. They just want it in the content, or they just want to do it, and then when it doesn't work, it's like the blame comes on you because you didn't do it properly. So convincing is the most difficult part, I would say. Convincing, a lot of founders don't get convinced with your ideas. They're like, "He validate this idea. I'm not able to understand why you want to shoot this, or why you want to post this. Why do we have to do this?" Because I only say one thing: just trust me, please. Just give everything in my hands. Trust me. If it doesn't work, let's have weekly calls, or let's have monthly calls. Give me your feedback. You tell me it doesn't work, I'll back off. You can fire me, but right now, give me at least 30 days, 60 days in my hands. Trust me, let me do my job. That is the, I think, the hardest part, just convincing people to let me do it. That's, yeah.
okay, okay, let's move to a little practical situation. So, take a chance if you were handling my Instagram today. So then, what
Mhm.
would be those 4 to 5 things you would like to change in my Instagram handle?
Like, the first thing I'm not able to judge is, first, what is your objective? Like, what do you want to do with it? As an audience, I'm not able to judge, what do you want from me? As an audience, what do you want from me?
Is more like storytelling and conversations around,
Mhm.
or a storyteller who's telling the world about herself, how she's been going through her journey to achieve her goals, and obviously these conversation series to help myself and the people around who are watching.
I would change is the bio, because your bio doesn't say that what kind of content you share. Because as an audience, when I follow somebody, the first thing I see is their bio, because usually in bio you can tell what kind of content they are posting, and there's also always a CTA. So I don't think you're trying to monetize anything right now, so you won't need a CTA. But you can definitely write something about what kind of content you share and why should people be following you, um, what they're going to find. So I guess bio is something where we'll first start. Second, your videos may be good, but it's just that your thumbnails, they don't say anything that would help me understand if I should watch that video or not. So the thumbnails doesn't have to be like very fancy or anything. Like, you don't have to be a designer to create the thumbnail. You can just take a screenshot of a frame from the same video, and you can write a hook somewhere where there's proper space on the video. There you can just put whatever the video is about, or a hook line, so that whenever an audience comes, they click on the kind of content that they want to watch. Two things
Mm,
that I would say. Now, in terms of content, of course, then that's a bigger planning thing that that comes after I have gone through similar creators, and I can tell you that these are the kind of content that is working out there. These are the kind of hooks that's working out there. So that's a bigger work to be done. But these are just small basic things that would change how audience looks at your profile.
Okay, okay. If you can handpick one of the reel, which you think if you were my content strategist or my copywriter, then you would change this particular thing. This may be one of the reel, so it would give a more clarity.
Taking the very first reel itself, the art of asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
I got my first conversation and now I don't know what to ask. Welcome to episode 2 of One Conversation at a Time. After almost hundreds of DM and Insta, one person finally said yes. Literally a yes. I was so happy, couldn't even imagine. I thought getting a reply from someone would be the hard part, but turns out I was wrong. Now the real problem landed. How do I drive a conversation? What do I ask? How do I make it interesting? How do I justify the story? So I did what I always do. I started learning, watching interviews, taking notes, learning how do I speak, what do I speak, and so much more. I thought it would be really easy because asking someone is such an easy question. Ask, why am I so anxious with this right now? And that's how I'm preparing for my first conversation. Yeah, anxious, very nervous, tensed. I don't know how would it be, how would it come out. Whatever happens, either I will pass or fail and again pass. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Okay, I think I've watched a few seconds of your video. So in this video, like I do what I first I'll tell you the things I like. I think I like the golden thing you have put. Like the golden lighting is good because you're going to be a storyteller. So if you're going to be a storyteller, golden and dark usually works. Like I also watch a lot of storytelling videos, and this thing kind of is attractive. So I think you should keep that. And also your frame, you're using landscape frame, so you can keep that as well. Third thing, your hook was also good. The art of asking questions, that hook is also good. It's just that in the video, because when I saw the mood of the video, it was all golden and everything. So I thought you would be like talking in a very calmer tone, and you'll be actually telling a story inside it like that. What was off is that you also tried to include some fun elements inside it, like memes and sound effects like that. So I believe next time if you're trying to post this kind of video, maybe you can try just a version where it's just raw, you talking about an experience, the art of asking questions. You just talk about the experience of what was exactly what went through, and then just end on a good note. Maybe ask a question to people or ask a question to yourself, or just end on a good note where people feel like they also want to engage with you. So you can put just very minimal kind of subtitles, fonts, because this is a warmer tone you are using. So with warm, you can use some elegant, nice little fonts for your subtitles, and you don't have to use sound effects so much. You don't have to do too many cuts either. Your storytelling would work. So yeah, that would be my suggestion.
Okay. Yeah. That really serves a good purpose. So, did you find the first client in that case?
After my first internship itself, I landed a full-time job, luckily. It wasn't like paying much. It was a remote job. It was paying me around 20K per month. And I worked there for about a year, but I learned a lot. That was my first job. It was a startup. I learned a lot of things because right after an internship, you get a job and you get to lead a team. I don't know what they saw in me, but they gave me a leadership role. And of course, for the first month, I wasn't a leader over there. I was just like everybody as a team member who was being led. But then I was kind of promoted and I was given a leadership role, and I had a few interns under me now. So that built my leadership, that built my decision making skills. Uh, and I was working in everything in that startup, like social media, operations, website, everything basically. I was also trying to understand the tech side of things. So that's that. After that job, again, I took another job. So just job, job at first for a few years. I would say just 3 to 4 years in the beginning. After that, I decided I wanted to do freelancing. That was mainly because I wanted to focus on my own brand. I wanted to build my own brand, and with a full time job, it was very difficult to have some personal life as well alongside building a brand and working a full time job. So I just decided to do freelancing. I went to Internshala. At first place, I found an internship, so I went there for freelancing as well, and I got two internships. Both of them were paying 5,000, 5,000. So after having jobs and getting paid all those salaries, I took two internships that was paying me 5,000 and 5,000 the other one. I said, okay, I'll take it. I first need to build my portfolio. So I spoke to them when there was an interview, although they said that this is an internship, this is not freelancing. But luckily they were good. So they got convinced. They said, if you're able to manage all the work as a freelancer as well, then we are good to go with freelancing. That's where it started. Some clients I found on LinkedIn. Others started coming in later from my Instagram. That's why I started building my Instagram in the first place, because I needed clients. So I got 2 or 3 from my Instagram. I even have gotten clients from Threads. A lot of people underestimate this platform, Threads, but I got clients from Threads. So yes, I am building my personal brand on many platforms, and from every platform, I try to either gain clients, projects, or I try to monetize that platform for myself so that I can get some ROI from all this effort that I'm giving over there. So yeah, that's how I got it.
For someone who's a beginner, how would they get the clients directly?
I want to mention here is, if you're starting out, don't expect to get paid too much. First, focus on building your resume and your portfolio. Not even resume. If you are in a creative industry, don't try to build resume, but build a portfolio instead. Like, put together a portfolio where you can show numbers, where you can show creatives, where you can show your creative side. And I have my portfolio on Notion. Notion is a free platform. It's a good enough platform. You can download free templates and use those free templates to build your portfolio. And it's very easy to learn as well. So I have built my portfolio. I have about 3 to 4 different portfolios. So that would be point number 2. First, don't expect to get paid too much. Try to build your portfolio first. Second, if you're building a portfolio, build 3, 4 different portfolios, not just one. Because I also used to apply to different kind of roles. Sometimes I would just apply for creative strategists. Sometimes I would apply only for copywriting. Sometimes I would apply for entire social media management. So everything needed different kind of portfolio. So I have multiple. So that would be step number 2. Build different portfolios according to what kind of roles you want to apply to. I look for clients on Internshala. Maybe if somebody wants to take their chance, they can look for small internships, paying 5,000, 10,000 maybe, where they are looking for a part-time intern. You can do part-time internship and add it to your portfolio. You can even, once you have gotten your, Once you have gotten acquainted with that company, you can talk to the founder or the manager, whoever it is, and ask them to convert your internship into a freelancing role instead. And if it works, it works. Otherwise, anyways, you're doing part-time job over there, so it doesn't hurt. Freelancing is mostly part-time work. So yeah, for finding clients, LinkedIn is still a good place. People post freelancing work over there all the time. So you can find people, you can find projects on LinkedIn. You can also find projects on X, Twitter. On Twitter, right now, a lot of companies are hiring in marketing role. And marketing roles include like different kinds of roles. That could be copywriting, that could be creative strategist, that could be just video editor, designer, or just script writers, content writers. So X and Threads, these two platforms also I would recommend. Keep checking. Build your presence just a little bit on these platforms, so that when you're approaching these people who are posting those jobs or projects, you don't come off as a random person. So have something like of your profile built on these platforms as well. So if somebody is a beginner, these are the platforms I would suggest.
Okay. Got it. Do I make in such as such? Do you have any templates, any email templates, message templates, which do you often use to send out to new people in order to get clients, or maybe get idea from the other content strategists if someone is a beginner and want to get feedback on their work?
If you're sending out emails to somebody or DMs to somebody, because this is something that I also face a lot, since I also get a lot of emails that I ignore. What people do is first thing first, put a subject line, not a like a chat GPT kind of subject line, but a proper subject line, like just straight to the point subject line. If I'm applying for a freelancing role, I usually just write application for this role. I don't try to be too creative with the subject line. I don't know. A lot of people would disagree. They would say that be very creative with the subject line, because only then you will get a response. But in my experience, I have not seen that. In fact, I also get a lot of weird kind of subject lines, and I'm like, why? Why would you do that? I would be happy to, connect with you, check out your email, even if you wrote it like a normal person. It's okay. You don't have to put in pop culture references or anything, unless the job post that you saw was written in that tone and mood. Then you want to copy that tone and mood in your email. It's okay then. Otherwise, just be normal, just be yourself, just be straightforward. So subject line is something that a lot of people miss out on, and that's why their emails don't get opened. Second, there's no body in the emails. A lot of people don't even write anything. They just attach a resume. So they don't say anything like, hi, hello, I saw your job post and I wanted to apply and this is my resume. Nothing. It's just a resume or a portfolio link attached. Third kind of portfolio or resume I get on emails is somebody would skip the subject line, skip the email body, and what they will do is, please find attached my work, and then so many Instagram links will be there.
Okay.
Like multiple Instagram links, multiple reel links. I'm not going to open so many things. Put it all together in a portfolio. Portfolio is so important, so important. People don't understand that. This is not a portfolio, putting links inside emails. It may even go into spam folder because there are so many links inside it. So it's better put it all together at one place professionally, and then send it over. So this is just a checklist. Subject line straightforward. Email body should say something. Who are you? Why are you reaching out? Keep it short. Keep it just a few lines. Maybe 3-4 lines is enough, because nobody reads a whole long email. So 3-4 lines is enough. And then attach your resume, your portfolio link, and then a thank you. After that, your name and number, email, and your LinkedIn profile link. So that is a good enough email for you to send to a recruiter.
Okay. The creator industry tells, like right now it's so overhyped. The creator industry, everyone wants to become a
Mhm.
creator. So what's the biggest lie the creator industry tells and they are selling?
The problem is not everybody can become a content creator, and they are not able to accept that fact. They, I I feel because I work with a lot of creators. I also hire creators. I also train creators. So not every skill is meant for everybody. Uh, it's harsh, I know, but it's the truth. Not everybody can create content. Just like not everybody can paint. Not everybody can become an artist. This is also an art, I would say. Not everybody can create content. Uh, a lot of people don't know how to do dialogue delivery. A lot of people don't know how to handle the camera or to do voiceovers. Uh, to think that you can learn everything, yes, there are a few things you can learn and you can do that. But I don't know who will tell them that they cannot become content creators, because it's overcrowded. A lot of people are trying. Just because you have a camera and you want to do it doesn't mean you can do it. A lot of things I also am really bad at, and I accepted it and I gave up on it. So yeah, I would just say that.
I get it. Do you think earning money is the only motivation in order to become a creator right now in this industry?
A lot of people I have worked with, they wanted to monetize their business through their content. So they are making the content and they want customers through it or clients through it. So that's how they want to monetize it. But some kind of monetization has to happen for most people. I have come across very few people who wanted to post content just because they wanted to share something with the world. And that's okay, as long as you stay motivated doing that. Because in the start, even I started posting because I just felt like I had a lot to teach people in from my experience in content and in marketing, and I still try to teach people a lot of things as much as I can. But after some time, I also kind of realized that this is not bringing too much motivation for me, because I'm spending a lot of my time writing those scripts. I'm spending a lot of my time shooting these videos, and then there's editor that I'm paying. So I kind of need it all back. So, yeah, that would be my take on it.
Authenticity just becoming another marketing strategy or viral trend?
It is, but still, a lot of people are not authentic. They're not authentic at all. I I mean, I don't know if I should reveal this, but agencies, when you work with agencies, big agencies, they handle a lot of clients. And because I have applied to roles in agencies as well, so I want to say this. Maybe this will have a consequence or something. But they work with a lot of people on personal brand, and their personal brand is so not personal at all. uh, there are doctors who have their personal brand on Instagram, and those doctors' scripts is being written by a content a copywriter who doesn't know anything about it. What they're doing is they're getting information from ChatGPT or from any other doctor creator, and they're just replicating that and creating a script and giving to that particular doctor, and that doctor comes in front of the camera and speaks about it. So, like, have you seen Alia Bhatt getting nervous in front of the camera? Here's the breakdown of it. And that is a ChatGPT script. That is not a doctor telling exactly what was happening with the celebrity and how normal people can cure that inside them. That's a copywriter's work. So a lot of agencies, they are handling personal brands and they are not authentic at all. These are just AI generated. That's why when I work with people on their personal brand, I request them that please do it only if you have the time to sit with me and help me write the scripts, because I don't know your work. You need to tell me what you do. You need to give me the pointers. that is an actual problem for people and an actual solution from your side, and then we post that. We don't want to spread lies or misguide people. So yeah, that's an insider from me.
Okay. So think AI has ruined copywriting or content strategists, and everyone thinks that they are good writers.
I think so, it has. And this is mainly because of the people who promote AI so much. Like, I understand that Claude or ChatGPT is good and that you want to go viral posting about it. But I think the quality has gone down a lot. I even created a video about this. It did not, the video did not do so well, but my motive behind that video was just to compare my videos with this other guy. That other guy, I kept seeing his posts all the time, and his hooks and scripts were exactly similar to what Claude used to generate for me when I was writing script for this one brand. So he had the exact same script, the one that the brand took from me, because they used to make us write like 50 100 scripts a day, and they would be like, just write it with AI and give us. So we're like, okay, if you're going to pay for AI, then here's AI work for you. So my point here is that means so many others are also saying the exact same lines on camera. If this guy is copying what I wrote because Claude gave it, then a lot of other people are also just using Claude generated scripts and hoping that it would work. But yes, the quality has gone down a lot. And they are actually not good copywriters. AI is doing it, and I don't know when they will understand that.
Someone is watching this genuinely and wants to learn from you, then what's the best way possible to reach to you and maybe work with you if they don't have any idea in this domain and they're completely new to it?
I usually release out a form. I also did it a few months back. From there, I picked 2 people. But again, I also do my screening process, because a lot of people, they want to work, but they kind of drop off. I hired a guy who was supposed to be delivering some content, but then the excuses starts coming in that I'm not well, or I am doing something else. It's my college, this that. So I kind of do screening, and in the screening process, I first read their responses, because responses tell you a lot about what kind of person that is and if they'll actually work or not, or I will be wasting my time on them. And then after that, I usually have calls, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes calls. And from after that, I kind of pick that these are the people I want to work with. Because if I am going to be giving so much time to training everybody and teaching everyone from scratch, then I also want to know that you are hardworking and you're actually going to use this knowledge to build a career. So yeah, and every time I hire, I usually put out forms, Google Forms, so they can just fill that up.
So via Instagram, it's a good way to reach out to you and they can work even if they don't have any idea about this domain and they can learn from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Are people creating content just for algorithm or famous or making money, or does this industry really find good people who are passionate about it?
Okay, depends. So as an audience, you should really choose who you're going to follow. An audience is quite smart themselves. If they see, like when I had started creating content, like for my personal brand, I mean, I started creating content long ago. But for my personal brand, when last year I started creating content, I was studying about personal branding, and I came to know of this line from someone, and I really liked it because they said in that that people can smell your intentions from miles away. So they can smell the audience can smell your intentions whenever you put out any kind of videos. They know if it's an ad, or they know if you want something from them. They know if you're just trying to teach something, or you're trying to gain sympathy, or you're trying to rage bait, share experience, whatever. Your audience can always tell. They're very smart. And yeah, so just keep your intentions around whatever you want, and you will get it. You want money from your content? Build that kind of content that will gain you money. If you just want followers and audience where you genuinely want to share something, trust me, just be genuine as you can. Give, don't ask for something, and you will see your audience gathering coming to you. And they're very loyal. People are very loyal to creators also. If they genuinely like your content, for anything, like even if you're asking for money from them, but they trust you, they like you, they're very loyal to you. So yeah, creator industry is kind of growing that way as well.
Okay. Someone having with 1,000 followers is more authentic and having good content, or someone with 100K followers will obviously be a right choice every time?
No, the way I usually follow people is based on their content. If I find their content either entertaining or valuable in any way, I follow them. It's there are a lot of big creators that my friends follow, and they are like, oh, watch their content, it's so great. And when I watch it, it's like it's so scripted. I feel it's so scripted, and some agency must be handling this, and I don't see any value in following this person, so I won't.